Hello, my name is Alan March, and I will be talking today in a short summary video about the national arrangements and primarily the main actors to do with wildfire risk reduction in Australia. I've made a simple diagram to describe what is admittedly quite a complex space to interpret and to describe. But hopefully this will simplify and clarify the nature of national action in Australia. This certainly could have been drawn up and described differently. I chose this way because it seems the most cogent to wildfire risk reduction. Indeed, maybe there might be other ways of describing other hazards, or just depending on what one's focus really is. The first thing to consider when looking at the Australian case is, of course, that we are a federation, meaning we have states and territories that have a lot of powers, and a lot of the operations of government are undertaken at the state government level. However, there are some functions and powers at the national level that are held at that level, such as homeland security, the national tax base, etc., for the reason of providing coordinating overview functions, I suppose. So that was set out in our constitution in 1901 and obviously has evolved over that time. So I'm describing these national agencies within the context of many powers being given over to or being held primarily, initially, in the states. So I'm just going to speak to the national actors. And of course, there are many nuances, and I would hasten to say many of these functions are not mutually exclusive. So the funding flows, for example, that lie under much of this are not necessarily clear in the first instance from where the agency sort of apparently sits. I'll put most of that aside for this talk, and I'm going to home in on one part of this wider set of descriptions I've used. This is my formulation to break them up into coordination, leadership, and oversight. That's what we're going to look at today. I will also, in later sessions, record video about these national agencies with relevance to wildfire, direct capability for response, NGOs, regulation, and knowledge and professionalism as they revolve around wildfire risk reduction, and understanding that we indeed are within an international set of circumstances in various ways. So it's not all about what we do here in Australia. So following that theme, I'll now sort of put aside some of those complexities for the sake of homing in on these peak agencies that we have at the national level. I'm sure someone's going to send me an email after they look at this and say, what about this, what about that? And they may well be right. I've chosen what I think are potentially the most important ones in these areas, acknowledging that a lot of these agencies play a number of roles that cross over the other categories I have introduced. So these are the main actors that I would like to draw your attention to, and I'll just take a couple of minutes for each. And I'd have to say it is very interesting to draw this together. It has made me aware of how much change we have had in the last 10 or 15 years, and even in the last 2 years in this national space for seeking to manage wildfire risk. I guess it should be said that I'll be talking about these agencies that often have other responsibilities as well beyond wildfire. I'll talk more about the generalities of their functions relevant to wildfire, or their wildfire specific ones. So the first agency I'd like to draw our attention to is this one, National Emergency Management Agency. And that is, in a sense, a very new organisation, in fact, only days old, as I speak here today in early September 2022. And the reason I say that is that this agency, well, it has a long history going back as Emergency Management Australia. It was originally in the Attorney General's office. It sort of got swapped around a bit. Now it's in Department of Home Affairs, and it has been amalgamated with the National Risk and Recovery Authority, itself a relatively new agency, formed only a few years ago. So I'll try not to go into all the history, of course, but to talk about what happens now. So this, I think, in many ways could be described as the formal peak agency that has the most formalised powers. It has a federal government minister at its head, the Honourable Murray Watt, the Minister for Emergency Management, and it has a number of key functions, and then a number of other sort of wider functions around knowledge and coordination. So I'll just sort of list these out fairly quickly. A big part of what they do is funding, and I am looking to my notes to make sure I get the main points. A lot of funding initiatives. They might be small. It might be a large recovery funding package after, say, our recent floods or fires. They work with recovery support officers right on the ground during recovery processes. They seek to promote national leadership in this space, and they monitor hazards on an ongoing basis. They are the peak organisation that's responsible for some key policy and documents: the National Disaster Risk Framework, the National Action Plans, we're currently updating that at the moment, the National Strategy for Disaster Resilience, and this is intended to provide a framework which all of the other activities fall within, and to coordinate those. National Emergency Management Agency also is responsible for the Government National Situation Room. So that's the coordinating function right at the peak organisation in Australia. They are responsible for the Australian Government Disaster Response Plan, COMDIS plan in the long-winded acronym. And of course, a new agency called the Australian Climate Service that is seeking to manage, understand, and subsequently act on climate and indeed climate change. So this is a large and, I suppose, well-funded in that a lot of money runs through it, particularly for disaster relief, including for bushfires, a large agency. The next one I would take our attention to is AFAC, the National Council for Fire and Emergency Services. Again, this is a very large organisation, but it is essentially a council, a coming together of 34 member organisations. These are essentially the emergency responders across Australia, and indeed the fire and wildfire responders that come from each state and territory in Australia. So they have core roles. One of them is simply to promote emergency management capability. Another role is to continuously update doctrine, which is the shared understandings of practices, knowledge, understandings, not just for response, but for education, for professionalisation, for procurement and development of assets such as fire trucks or firefighting services generally, collaboration, and a range of events and initiatives like conferences and particular actions, maybe to promote resilience in young people, for example, which is a new one. So there are 6 pillars that AFAC has as part of its collaboration model, and very much collaboration based. You can imagine reaching across all of the states of Australia, and indeed all of the different agencies, including fire response. So supporting resilient communities, providing trusted response, using credible and timely information and data, having a safe, capable and diverse workforce, being informed by knowledge, innovation and research, and having effective and transparent governance. So that's a very broad description of a very large organisation, insofar as that it draws together and quite actively seeking to draw together a range of different actions and trying to really work on things like shared capabilities, sharing between the states, between different events or with different knowledge sets or progression over time. And having just been to their recent conference, the first one for 3 years due to COVID, a huge energy in this space, and it really feels like a time when we are really gathering some energy to deal with these terrible events that we are having more often. Okay, the next peak agency at national level I'd like to describe is the Australian Council of State and Territory Emergency Services, ACCESS. And essentially this is the peak agency that seeks to manage, coordinate and improve the capabilities of state emergency services across Australia's states and territories. While there's no real capability per se, this seeks to coordinate and organise the different states, and the state emergency service are not responders like fire services are, but during a fire event they provide a huge amount of capability of organising, recovering and assisting other services and indeed the communities themselves. Importantly, they have a very strong volunteer base, which is very significant in Australia and as it is indeed in many other places in terms of wildfire capability and resilience. Second last one here is a new organisation, Natural Hazards Research Australia. There is a long history that this brand new organisation follows on from the Bushfire Natural Hazard CRC, and then the Bushfire Natural Hazard CRC, which wound up last year. And now we have this new organisation that is very much around building research, knowledge and collaboration, but really having a strong knowledge and research base in doing that. It has a 10-year lifespan. We have a new Executive Director, Andrew Gissing, a well-respected researcher in Australia, leading this. And as I said, it's very much part of this ecosystem of collaboration and really focused on end user support. So the fire responders, it might be local government that has to manage assets and buildings and regulation to do with fire. And its vision is that communities be safer, resilient and sustainable in the face of natural hazards. The mission statement is important: to work with partners and the community on research that is useful, actionable and supportive of better decision-making to save lives and protect communities. To do this, there are some themes: governance and management, building capability, building partnerships, research-informed advice, and implementation of research. And the outcome is intended that we use research to essentially make better communities, more resilient communities, in association with all of the other agencies and capabilities I've talked about, whether they're response or regulation, etc. The final one I'd like to talk about as a peak agency here is the Royal Commissions and Inquiries sort of functionality. This I included because while these happen after the event, the Royal Commissions, and we regularly have a Royal Commission. There's a Royal Commissions Act 1901 that's been established in Australia since that time, and it's brought to bear when we really want to investigate what happened. I raise this because the Royal Commissions are a very powerful resource. Acting on them is often another set of challenges, whether it's by national bodies or by state agencies. But they do provide an important information base and, I suppose, an overview, in this case at national level. I guess I should mention that the states themselves will have royal commissions as they see fit. The investigation into the 2019 and 2020 bushfires in Australia is an incredible resource, and you may want to go and look at that if you're not aware of that. So I'll leave that there as an admittedly very brief snapshot of a complex set of agencies that themselves in turn interact with many other agencies and bodies. I perhaps should have shown you this. This is just a bit of a summary of AFAC and the different strategic directions they have. This is all available online. And so if we think about this coordination role at national government level, and thinking about that coordination role as part of these other functionalities and these other elements of trying to reduce wildfire risk in Australia at the national level. So I will describe each of those other categories in hopefully similarly short summaries as I've done just now. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you for your attention.